And welcome back to the hottest marriage show in the world. It is I, John D. and we are doing too much, here to give you those wonderful conversations that happen in the comfort of our own home. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
Awesome. What anything in particular you do today that makes you doing well today?
No, I sat for hours and hours for my daughter to get her hair braided after somebody pushed my appointment, and then they pushed it to a different day, and then after I got to the shop, they pushed it to a different day, and then when I came back, they came 30 minutes late, and then when they got there, they braided her hair for an hour and a half, and then they stopped to eat.
You know,
in the morning, like you were late and you didn't eat your breakfast before you came here, and then you take a break to eat breakfast, and then she braids her hair, and it doesn't look good. And
I think that's an opinion because I think it looks really good.
Well, Dave says it really hurts.
Well, I don't think that has anything the way that it looks.
Yeah, it's. I knowing what I've seen as far as braids and Dave's hair, I didn't like it. I told her, look, and I already know what you're gonna say, but I told her to cut them out, and this is why. I know that I've had really good braiders that have. I know when your hair is tight, and I know when it's too tight. And with her hair,
but that's all perspective and relative.
No, but listen, it is. But at the same time, what did I tell you about as a nurse? Whatever they say their pain is their pain. Now, I've had really tight braids where I've had to take them out. And I've had tight braids where I knew that I just needed to get through the night. And then they would loosen. When I went to grab hers, they were so stiff to her head that I could understand. And then I was sitting there thinking she was leaning up in the car because she couldn't lean back on her head.
I think
that's not okay.
I think this is just one of those things where I feel like she got to go through something. Like, yeah. I agree. But let's say this. This is what I think about when you give her this option. If in the future, like she's getting her hair done or something, and she has to do an event, she may not do the event.
Well,
like, she won't just what is it, storm through it, and then
no. But the thing is that when we were out here talking, she said, when you braid my hair, and when Miss Florence braided my hair, it never hurt like this. And what I feel is that she understands what it means to be comfortable, and this. She was like, it's never been like this. So I understand, and I wouldn't want anybody to make me keep braids. Like, I've taken braids out before. I paid for it, and I was like, it's going to be okay. And by the time I got a few hours in, I was like, And she knows that we don't want to waste money and we don't want to waste time. But at the same time, I can't let her be in pain for the sake of her hair. I don't think hair should be on that level. And that's one thing I know growing up, people used to get there was this one lady in town. I'm not going to say her name. She used to braid hair. And I remember we used to get women would get cornrow French rolls in their head. When I say she used to pull people's edges where you could see the skin pucker, and they would just ride it out. And I really felt like that was what we were supposed to, like, it's pain. Beauty is not pain. That is, if you're going to be uncomfortable, nothing is worth that for me. And I want Day to understand that it's not worth that for her either.
I hope she gets that message.
Yeah, and I think she understands that there are people who can do hair and it be comfortable, and there are people who
But I just feel like going forward, like that's an expensive lesson to figure I'm not going to go back to this person.
It is an expensive lesson. However,
with going forward.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that it just means that there has to be more vetting when it comes to who does your hair, what you've seen before, work you've seen before, and being able to advocate. Like, they let her go through her entire head. And I know that it had to been painful the whole time Because she got in the car and immediately sat up, and I was like, why don't you relax? Sit back.
Well, I just hope it's one of those things where, like, you're closer to her figuring it out than not, because I just feel like she's supposed to go through it.
I know, but understanding what it's like, I was just like,
I know what it's like to go through it too. I've had braids where
definitely. But you had braids where
I've had a headache and I had to wait like 3 days before it actually loosened up. Yes, I have, because I was not getting my hair done over again, and it was only $10, and I still wasn't gonna do it. That's why I just feel like that's crazy.
Look, first of all, when I did the first few cuts, I said, your dad is gonna be like, what in the world are you doing? However, I stand on my decision. And I don't, part of it is me putting her in the right position with the right hairstylist that understands how her hair needs to be done. And another part of it is me understanding how people do hair so that I can advocate better. That's why when I came home and she was complaining, I just went on here and I'm like trying to figure out what are the different ways that her hair could be braided where it doesn't have limited range. It had no range to move. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I've learned a bit. I learned a bit to know how to advocate for her better, but I'm not about being in pain. I'm just not.
No doubt.
But I'm saying, okay, so even though I said I was doing pretty well, I was mad about how my day started. But, afterward, I got in the car with Day and we had good conversation, hanging around, trying to go run errands. And so being with her makes it a pretty good day.
No doubt. I got a topic I want to talk about. Okay. And I guess it's more so just for informational reasons or purposes on how you grew up or what do we think it is now. I remember growing up where they said that, you shouldn't have premarital sex. Mm-hmm. Like what is premarital sex? So it's just sex before marriage. Mm-hmm. So what is a relationship supposed to, like, what's a premarital relationship? What does that look like? And why is sex supposed to be removed from it? So I guess that's what it is. Like, what does a premarital relationship look like? Like who determines?
I don't know. Hold hands and kiss, dry hump. I don't know.
I mean, what is a relationship? So like,
I think that is the goal is to get to know someone. Like we were watching that show, some show. I forget which one it's called. I think it's Married at First Sight or something. And there was one person who was really, really apprehensive, even though they signed up for this. It was like the idea of having sex with somebody that she didn't know was really like killing her. And so the therapist said, why don't you just take sex off the table? Mm-hmm. If you know that regardless of whether you kiss or not, regardless of whether you hug or not, or even, touch, that it's not going to lead into sex. So you don't have to be
as guarded.
Yeah, as guarded,
because it's not going to go that far.
Yeah, so that it's not going to go so far, so you can be more open to intimacy in other ways. And so I'm wondering if the idea of having a premarital relationship without sex is really just, it's that there is a level of intimacy there, but I think the goal is once you take sex off the table, then you can focus on, okay, what are the other aspects that I can like about somebody? Because sex can really, like, you listen to music, and I've even listened to people growing up, like friends, and they be like, it's the D. And I be like, it's that. Like, it can make sex can really cloud your judgment.
Sex is what?
Sex is if you take it off the table, then it gives people the opportunity to kind of look at all the other things that can make them want to be with you. Like, if we get into the relationship and we've been looking at it through clouded lenses because we have that passion that's driving that part of us, that logic doesn't get an opportunity for a fair opportunity to weigh in on this relationship as well. So you take sex out of it, and you could figure out, when we argue, is there makeup sex? No. So do we really know how to resolve conflict? You know what I'm saying? Do I really like hanging with you? Or do I like hanging with you because we gonna kiss, then we gonna touch, and then we're gonna have sex? Mm-hmm. And, I look attractive to you, or you're attractive to me. And so it makes it where, I want to be around them all the time, because you're not thinking it. But in the end, there are so many things that y'all could be doing because they turn you on.
Yeah.
But you take that out of there, it's like, do I like hanging with you? Do I like talking to you? Are you even like a friend? Can we watch TV and enjoy the same TV shows? Or are we watching TV show and you just be sitting there with me because in 10 minutes you can touch me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think when you take the passion side out, then the logic part gets an opportunity to weigh in more fairly and give you a better idea of, do you really want to be with this person? Or is it that you're looking through clouded lenses?
For sure. I think if I were to do it all over again, or if I wouldn't have had sex before marriage. It's so crazy. I think you're the only person that I built a relationship the way that I did, and then we had sex. Like, typically it wasn't like that. Like, I think we created a relationship before, but I think I would have enjoyed your company anyway. But now that just listening to you, I feel like people think if the sex is good enough, it'll override each other's personalities and get along. Right. Yeah. When you should probably get to know each other first, to see if you get along, to see even if you want to have sex, because sex will throw a monkey wrench in a relationship and put one of the two parties not on the same page.
Yeah.
And that's where I was looking at premarital sex. I'm looking back, you said it's a level of intimacy. Like, I didn't look at it that way. And it's interesting because I feel like that's like one of the largest distractions in young men. If they're like maturing into men, sex is like a distraction. If you didn't come from a background that told you that sex ain't that serious, you think sex is that serious.
Well, I think that women also, not like, it's funny because I think about music that I listen to, and I understand women having more sexual freedom. And so sometimes I think the idea gets pushed. And instead of us having sexual freedom, we think that it means, be as out as possible when it comes to, I don't know if I want to say that, but I think that it gives you, it's almost like we've been pent up so much as far as what we're supposed to think or feel sexually, that now that women are saying, no, I'm going to own my own sexuality and I can be like this. It's like all that pent up, feeling of being oppressed in that way is like bounding out of everyone now. So in time, I think it would be great for men to feel like, sex isn't that important.
I think
it can be good, and for women to just be comfortable in who they are and their sexuality, and not feel like they have to push to prove or be over the top. Now, I love my music that be talking about women being over the top sexually. I'm gonna be honest, but I just really want to say that it's not just the young men or men. It's not just men who look at sex the way they do. There are plenty of my friends that that's all they see or think.
But I think women that think like that it was forced because men made them think like that. I don't believe that women said, you know what, this is what I want. It's like, oh, this is what men want. And then when men was like, you can't do that, then it's this independence. Like, I can do whatever I want with my body. But ultimately, when you were growing up, you didn't say, you know what, I can't wait to be sexually free. You just like kind of, I guess, is it the idea of people telling you that you should be in this type of relationship to go to a marriage, or should you want to just be sexually free? Like that's the goal. And I think men are too immature in so many different ways to feel like that is something that they want.
No, I don't think that it's really about, I think women aren't like that because men are like that. I don't think. I think women have those desires anyway. But I was talking to a girlfriend today, and she was like, she said, you know, I remember like people would be like, that girl, she does it like she does all of that. And then you look down on her. But all the guys still wanted to deal with her. But they would tell other girls like, oh, yeah, she a hoe, she this, she that. And so you don't want to be that person. And so you suppress any type of sexual creativity or expression that you want to have. You suppress it because the people that you want to attract and have relationships with give you this idea that it's negative for a woman to take control of her sexuality. So it's not that we don't want to, it's that there's this mixed message that if we want to be the woman that men want, you can't be out here being a hoe, but the men are out here looking for the hoe. Like, and I don't want any woman to be considered a hoe because I don't think they are. I'm saying from the terminology we grew up with, it was like they labeled them so that if you didn't want to be talked about like that, then you had to suppress your sexuality. Things that you didn't feel like you could be creative with, you would hold it back for fear of being negatively viewed. But at the same time, I don't think I ever paid attention to the fact that regardless of the message that they told me, like, you be messing with her, but they all would. Like, she wasn't missing out on having a good time. We women who suppress ourselves will be missing out on a good time because we're worried.
But see, this is what I'm saying. Like that girl that you're talking about, that happened from a lack of supervision in the household or just think about it. If there is a girl, we're talking about teenagers. We're not talking about adult women.
Yeah.
So none of this should even be talked about anyway.
Yeah, and I understand. That's very complex for a teen to even be dealing with. I get that
for sure. That's what I'm saying. So for you, when I'm hearing you, like when women say, you know, they're being suppressed, like you shouldn't even be in that mindset. So that girl who is a little faster than her peer group, like she was compromised at some point.
But then at the same time, even if we're learning this by watching our teenage peer, when we grow up as in college, we're still holding those same ideas. I mean, I'm 42 and I'm talking to my friend who's my age, and she's just now, you know, we're sitting here talking, and she was like, I wish I would have done more of what I wanted to do. I wish I would have explored more, but I was worried. And she was like, and what was I worried for? And so even if we weren't supposed to learn this as teenagers, we carried that idea in our head all through our adulthood, and we still didn't express anything. We still didn't, some women still might not have gone to explore in the things that they're really interested in.
Are you talking about married women or are you talking about single women? And the reason
I'm talking about both. I'm talking about both because I think that there are I'm married and I could understand exactly what she's talking about.
Are you saying that you wish you would have had sex with more people as a teenager?
No, I don't think it's that. And it's not just as a teenager. I'm thinking of myself as a young single woman.
But I'm like, I get that. I'm just saying, in order to get to that point, you have to be. You don't just jump into having sex with a bunch of people.
I understand, but what I'm saying to you is, there were times where, you know, we might have taken more of a risk in meeting someone or doing something that we were interested in, and we didn't because we were still holding this thing that we didn't know we were holding. And so I'm not talking about being a teenager. I'm saying we might have watched somebody as a teen, and not even as a teenager, in college. And when we were technically adults, you're sitting there and you see it's the same messaging. And I'm only speaking for the experience I had. I'm not going to say that for everyone. But for the women that I have discussions with, it's kind of like we all understand it. It's like, yeah, there were probably things that we probably would have been interested in learning and trying and experiencing in our sexuality, but we didn't for the fear of optics. Like, what does that look like? And men can be free to do whatever they want with women, but I mean, they feel free with bringing new things up and experimenting. But if women do, it's difficult sometimes, because it can either be we get to be free and enjoy one another, or is this going too far and he's going to feel like, I'm this or I'm that. Like, just like people's sexuality, not just in the acts they may want to partake in, but who they want to do it with. Like, what if I wanted to have sex with multiple men at one time? Or what if I wanted to have sex with a man and a woman? What does that make me look like? And what, that, and not to say that this is me, but I'm just saying that women can sit there and say there might be things that they feel are racy, but they still want to try. It's still something that they want to do, but they can't because, it's a slippery slope. Like,
I think that if anybody's interested in any of that, they should mess with people who don't look at it as a slippery slope. You can't share
but you gotta find them people.
But that's anything though.
I think that and then in college with guys, they were really open with the idea. Like, they're open with the idea about certain things. Like, if a woman were to say, I want to sleep with you and a woman, they're all in. But it's only certain things that she may want to be experimenting with that he might be into. What if she's like, I want to try something anal? There are men who are like, I ain't doing that because blah, 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 blah. But she's talking about wanting to feel a different sensation. And he is now thinking of what does it make him look like if he's involved. And that's not to say all men are like that either. But I'm saying that there may be things that women want to try, but they don't know if their partner or the one they want to try it with is open to it.
But I think that's both sides.
Yeah, but that also goes into, I think in a previous conversation, we were talking about people being able to have the real conversations about what they like and what they don't like. Mm-hmm. Being able to be honest and feeling like you're in a place that's safe, that you can say that and you won't get ridiculed later. If they're not down for that, they ain't gonna shit on you because that's something that you wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Is it still gonna be all right? There's a level of gambling that you take in saying these things to people, and not knowing how far they're really willing to go.
Well, I think that comes from the capacity of mental awareness for the person, because you should not be having sex with anybody unless you truthfully believe that you can be vulnerable to that person. So if you give this person to you too early, that means you didn't vet them long enough. So if you want to be free, you have to know that there's consequences of not getting to know somebody because they may throw you under the bus.
Well, I mean, and I think that you could feel like you know somebody.
Well, I get it, but my point is, if you don't do it to the point where, like, you got to have those experiences to know, okay, I've given this person long enough time where I feel like I can do this. But if you're doing this at the beginning, you can't possibly think you're supposed to be the lucky one that can be vulnerable to a person and they're not going to say it. Like, guys are stupid.
Yeah. I think that, and I'm sorry if I sound like I'm jumping all over the place, but I understand. I just feel like growing up in college, I had certain things that I wanted to try, and the only reason why I did get to try them is because I met you, and your mouth was always running about something. You were always talking about something that you wanted to do. Like, you left the door open for anybody to come with anything outlandish and say they want to do it too. And I think that was one of the things about our conversations early on that made it really fun before we ever decided to have sex. It was just like the way you talked, it was like anything could happen. Anything, and I'm not just talking sexually, I'm just saying, like, you were open to any experience. Like, I might want to try this, I might want to do that. And it created an environment where talking about things that would not typically be okay, even if you weren't with it, you'd be like, oh yeah, you know, some people be wanting to do that. I'm not interested in that. But, you know, and then it never felt like it was anything else after that. It was just like, you know, move on. But I've also, like, you remember, I know you do remember, we had a certain friend who we were sitting at a dinner, and then he was like, oh, y'all just some hoes.
Yeah.
And that made me feel horrible. And I was grown as hell. And I was with my husband. Now, we weren't even talking about anything that would make us sound like hoes, y'all. But I don't remember the conversation. But
he didn't say that.
What did he say? Whores. Do I smell a whore? Yeah, he said, and then we messed with him the next day by saying, do I smell a whore every time we saw him? But the thing about it is the word hit me. I'm married with my husband, regardless of what the conversation was. I can't remember what it was. But even in that space, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, what's so crazy is that the only reason why I was bothered is because I couldn't understand the intent.
Yeah.
And you were bothered by it.
Yeah. But I think that me, just to be transparent, I've had a lot of, I've been very apprehensive about, you know, taking risks in my life because I worried about being judged. And that was one of the moments, like, I thought I grew out of it. And when he said that, I was like, oh, that hit me back to 15 years old. And so when we're talking about this and I'm thinking about someone feeling like they can be vulnerable and be okay with being able to say whatever they want to say and being sexually open about what they want, I could still see how somebody could talk to me, like, say we weren't together, I'd still be apprehensive talking to people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think you have to know how long you need to talk to somebody to believe that you've seen the true person. That's what I said, like, we don't know how to vet people because we have convinced, like, all of us that sex is that important in a relationship.
Yeah, but, you know, and then there are other people who literally they see sex as just a fun way of connecting. They're not putting as much weight on it. Like, I grew up in a Baptist house where it was like, you bet not. And so there was this heavyweight idea of what sex was. And there are other people who just don't see it that way. And so if they see it as just another way of hanging out and connecting with someone that they like, it's just another form of intimacy, just like kissing, just like touching, just like whatever, then sometimes they may not feel like they want to vet people.
Oh, I know. Like, that's what I'm saying. You don't know to do it.
But I mean, for somebody that is afraid of really speaking up, I mean, they would want to vet the person.
I'm saying, but you have to be taught to do that because you're only going to do what your environment does.
Yeah.
I remember I used to laugh at girls. They used to say, you know, I'm not doing anything for 3 months. I was like, well, we wouldn't have ever been talking that long because in my head, I thought that was what you were supposed to be doing. I was like, why would I invest my time with you if we don't even like to have sex with each other? Because in my head, I thought it was that important, but it's not. Like, but nobody tells you, it's like, hey, I wouldn't have sex with them for like 3 or 4 months if I was you because you don't want to get stuck with somebody you don't like.
Yeah.
You know, but nobody knows how to articulate those things because it's like, man, knock them down, just strap up. But as a young kid, to strap up, you're telling a young kid to be responsible by putting a condom on when they're having sex. They shouldn't even be having sex. So how do you expect a kid, like 18, 21, even young adults?
Yeah.
I feel like if we approached the relationship differently, that sex wouldn't be the demise of most of the fallouts, because everybody enjoys the spontaneity of a new thing, like,
right.
The newness of it. But then when the newness wear off and then you start to get to know the person, you're just like, who are you?
That's the whole part. That's the whole point of taking it off the table, though. That's
oh no, I totally understand. That was a great idea.
Who are you?
Like,
yeah,
you was like, dang, I knew you didn't put your underwear in the laundry basket when you got out, but you just left it there. I thought you would change as the relationship went on. He was like, no, I can't stand this.
No. Yeah, I think that it allows it. I think that kissing and hugging and touching, it is something about that is truly separate from sex as far as clouding people's vision. And it's truly a connection of people, like on a heavy level in having sex, regardless of what your intention is. And
I don't know if it's a heavy level, though. I think it's a heavy level for two people that understand it could be on a heavy level.
But I think that I've never.
How many guys do you know decide to stay around versus a woman?
Yeah, well, I think the majority of the guys that I've had sex with, we've been in relationships. But I do recall somebody where we had two people where we had decided to have sex, and then it was like afterward, it was like, oh, and you were like, and we were still cool, still friends, still whatever, and it was like there was
he
no
didn't decide that. You decided that. You can all you want. There's no man.
I feel like it was mutual.
No, it had to be mutual because you decided it for him. Like, he's not gonna say, "Hey, I think you're wrong." Like, I think we should continue.
No. One time it was.
I'm not saying that they can't, but my point is, typically a man is not gonna be, unless he's just into you like that. But
yeah.
But I'm telling you that no man is gonna be like.
Well, I was really just trying to say, I guess in those moments, it doesn't necessarily have to be on a deep level. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking there could be those moments. There could also be a moment where one person is completely tied to you.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
you're not,
if you do not take the proper time to vet the person, you could end up in a storm and everything will stink.
Yeah, that's true.
So I just feel like when we're talking about sex, if we stop talking about it like it's so important in the beginning, like, hey, let's see if we can get to know this person. Because if you can get past like whatever you don't like about the person, sex is only going to to illuminate the relationship.
Yeah, I have a friend who's currently vetting suitors right now, and she's on this 3-date rule, and it's not about sex. Her 3-date rule is really like her figuring out if she likes them at the core of who they are, like in different situations. And it's one person that she enjoys them. She says they like to travel. They got, financially, she won't have to worry about, them handling themselves. And she said, but he likes to irritate me. And it's entertaining to him to do
so
things.
His irritation is a part of picking. I'm sure.
He likes to pick. And so and she's like, I was really tired. I had been sick and I wasn't feeling well, and he knew that. And it's like it just comes up in the conversation. It's something that entertains him. And he told her it entertains him. He was like, I don't mean anything by it. I just think it's funny. And she was like,
and she has to
irritate.
She has to take the moment to say, is this something that I can deal with?
And so, but it's funny because she said, he reminds me of another boyfriend I had, but they were definitely having sex, and it was something that she found later on. But because she had that relationship, when she noticed it in him, she was like, oh no. I mean, her experiences have let her know, we're going to put the sex to the side real quick because I want to know if I even like you, and sometimes you get caught up in trips and wine and how sexy somebody looks, and then you have sex, and then all of their irritating characteristics kind of fall out in the background. But now you got all this gunk in the front, that has kind of clouded it. And so in this case, she was like, it's so irritating. And she said, and this is one of those things that I really have to think about now. But had they been having sex like she was with the previous person, you know, that would have been something that's like, I could probably deal with it. But now she's like, I can't deal with that shit. Like, sure. So I think that the idea of, she is at a point where she's vetting people, because she was like, you know, these are people that you're supposed to want to be in a relationship with. Like, do I even like you? And I can respect that. I mean, that's true. Yeah,
I know. But you know what I respect more? That if young people felt like that.
Yeah, it takes a few decades to get to that part. Oh my God.
Yeah, because, you know, and, you know, I know it's going to be people like, what are they talking about? They know like how they were when they were. Yeah, I do. And I know that, you know, we wouldn't be here if a few things would have went the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do we make it cool enough to say, you know, let's just get to know each other? Because I see too many young people's lives max out too early because they just don't even have the support system to get them through this storm of having a kid so early.
But I think that's
unless they're a professional athlete.
Yeah, that's an idea that would have to take a couple generations.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, it could start though.
Be a practice, yeah, because I think that people are still. I mean, it's in the messaging. It's in movies. It's in romantic comedies. It's
not in Korean movies.
It's not in Korean movies.
They be so crazy. And you still get involved in it like you're in love with them too.
Yeah, we gotta go watch the show. So, but that's the thing is like if it's in my music that I love and it's in all the shows that I like, and then when I go to the movies, it's gonna be a part of it. And my friends, this is what we've known from the beginning up until now. It's kind of hard to hit that reverse. Large scale.
I know. Yeah, I just feel like this right here is a video document of how if young people actually start listening to this, they may, you know, receive the message and be like, you know what? They be doing too much, but they be telling you the truth. And I just feel like sometimes you just need a different voice to say, you know, it's okay to not have sex because it only brings problems. I don't know anybody saying, I'm glad I had sex with you early.
True. You know what? I was today also while Dave was getting her hair done, her hairdresser is like maybe 30, 32, something like that. And so when I'm talking to her, I am so aware of, it's like I was overly aware of how I was talking to her and how old I must have sounded. And in my head, I'm thinking, a young person listening, how old do we sound?
Well, I know how old you sound.
I sound really old.
You do. But I sound old with not having sex. But some of the stuff you sound like, you know, kind of like you probably too old.
For real?
In my mind, like, yeah.
Okay, I got a Benjamin Button up in this mug.
No, but I mean, like, I just feel like what makes us young is saying that we're not going to do what we did when we were younger. We want to give a different message. To me, if we keep the same message, we're old.
Oh, yeah, stuck in your ways.
Yeah, and guess what you want to do? You're like, we should be having sex. No, we should not be having sex.
I didn't say we should be having sex.
But you didn't say we shouldn't.
I didn't because I feel like in the end, everyone, you know, you're adults, you make the decision, and how you view sex and how much importance you place on it will make a difference as to whether or not you feel like that's something that you do. So
they shouldn't put that much importance in it, because if you do it, it could, the relation. I don't
know. I feel like free will. Free will.
Exactly, and people typically make bad decisions from it.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, I've been listening to people and the new perspectives on sexuality and self-discovery, and even outside of that, just the way that people are viewing life and what they will and won't take and tolerate, and how they're taking control of their lives. Like, I don't ever want to say anything that's like, you shouldn't do this, because
I'm just saying it's a better way to do something. If you want better results, you can't do the things that we did when we were younger.
Yeah, because they say,
Because they told us not to do it also. But
yes.
we're not telling you not to do it, but you should have more information before you get into. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying I wouldn't tell someone don't. I'm just saying, know why you're going into it. And if you're going into it for a deep connection, or you have reservations about,
it's not worth it. That's not going to, like, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, don't.
But please don't.
If you feel like it's just, it's just another way of connecting with people, and you're not putting that much weight on it or whatever, just know enough to feel comfortable. That's how I feel. Know enough to feel comfortable. Yeah.
I would say, like, this message is for like teenagers and young adults. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, I just looked at, the way that I viewed life then and how sex was. It was just something fun. It wasn't really intimate. It was just like, we're having fun out here. And that fun could have been ugly. You know what I'm saying? Like, from having babies, from getting diseases, from dying, you know what I'm saying, from diseases, or just being in the wrong relationship. So if we could teach these young people to get to know who they would consider having sex with, maybe they'll find out they're glad that they didn't have sex with them, because they wouldn't have been able to deal with them. So hopefully we can change the message with that. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here? Or you want to give anybody a shout out?
No, I don't. I was about to be a smart aleck, but no, I don't have anybody.
No doubt. Well,
oh yes, I do.
For sure.
I want to give a shout out to Florence.
You so crazy.
Florence is she was our hairdresser in Abu Dhabi, and she went back to Uganda. I believe it's Uganda. It was. Mm-hmm. She went back to start her own shop. And I miss her, and Day misses her braids, and I miss her. Shout out to Florence.
Shout out to you. Inshallah, you hear this one day. Shout out to everybody who's just trying to do better and to get better results. I just recently released my own podcast. It's 2 Minutes of Funk, that I call it. Just information on what I'm doing as a man, on how I'm improving and in my household as a husband and a father, and just trying to be another voice, a perspective on helping us evolve better as we move through this world filled with distractions. But make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. Be great on purpose. Boom.